What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Welcome to the overview. It's about time we've done one of these, actually. It's been a hot minute. It's been a while. It's been a while because we've just been so busy. There's been a lot of games. There's been a lot of stuff going on. And we just haven't had a chance to revisit this. But actually, considering what's going on in the league table now, I think that gap of not doing it actually has helped, because now it's time to revisit. Talk about other teams, see what's going on in the league, and work out where we're at, considering looking at everyone else, both at the top and the bottom of the table, and obviously, top four situation. Big up to everyone in the chat. Loads of people were saying what a wicked show it was last night as well, which it was, I went to bed thinking, just giggling to myself. It was just funny. It was just a really good show.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the clip went out this morning of you calling yourself Drogba.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're trying to get me out of context, though. I didn't call myself Drogba. You just said, you called yourself. I didn't call myself Drogba. I said, well, we're having a bit of a laugh. So who would you most play? I said a cross between Van Nistelrooy and Drogba.
Well, I'll be honest, Flex. I didn't really react to it at the time, but once the stream ended last night, cried myself to sleep. Darren Gibson, unbelievable.
Yeah, you got the most disrespect to that, everyone. And you're a goalie as well.
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
There you go. But big up to everyone in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Smash a like on the video as well. Let's get into this, Owen, actually, because we've got to start with Man United, obviously our team. Because there was some interesting quotes coming out from Samuel Luckhurst this morning. And anytime there's something quite controversial or quite strong, it's Luckhurst. You know what I mean? He's always got this kind of way about him where he comes with the big stories, bombshells that it's like, that's a big one. Do you know what I mean? But if you don't know what he did say this. He said Rangnick has major reservations about the prospect of Cristiano Ronaldo spearheading Man United's attack next season. Sources say Rangnick's patience is wearing thin with Ronaldo. Sources say we're thin with Ronaldo, but he has not entertained the possibility of dropping Ronaldo due to Man United's dearth of reliable goal scorers. Rangnick wants to replace Cristiano Ronaldo with Victor Osimhen. Manchester United have already probed Osimhen from Napoli. The striker can leave the Italian side. This club is leave this summer. He is valued at 100 million euros. That's another report from Ciro Venatro. But on the I'm not really transfer stuff. Whatever.
Leave that.
People just make shit up. But Samuel Luckhurst coming out and saying that. What are you saying to that? Because there's two bits of that. There's the bit that says his patience is wearing thin. Then there's a bit that says he doesn't want him for next season. But then there's also a bit that says, like you were saying yesterday, but there's no one else to play.
You know what? It's one of those ones, and I think it's a really good exercise in reading something, taking a step back and go, okay, what does that mean? How do I feel about that one? Because the initial reaction when you read it is go, Ronaldo's gone, over. Yeah. Rangnick doesn't like Ronaldo. And that's not really what it says. I think what it says, he has serious doubts about Ronaldo leading the line next season. I looked at that and went, well, we're buying a striker next season because Cavani's leaving. And we know that we were trying to get a younger striker. So, of course, there were doubts about Ronaldo leading the line next season. We were going for a striker anyway. And we need a striker anyway, because as I mentioned yesterday, if we had a viable number 9 alternative, I don't think Ronaldo would be playing as many games at the moment, or certainly in a game like at the weekend. Rangnick would have looked at the bench and gone, yep, I'll probably take him off and I'll bring him on. We don't have that at the moment. So, of course, Rangnick will have his doubts. I think some fans have their doubts. I don't think, again, and I think when it comes to Samuel Luckhurst as well, to give him his credit, it's a reputable source. It's not a source where you go, I don't necessarily know about that one. But also at the same time, again, read into it. It's Monday. You've got to write something too. So I kind of looked at it as, well, yeah, of course he's probably got some doubts, but we're looking for a striker anyway next season. So what's really massive about that? There is certainly some doubt as to, Ronaldo might decide in the summer, actually, I might want to move on. That's a conversation for a later date. But as far as Rangnick's got his doubts about Ronaldo leading the line for us next season, we've got a big overhaul in the summer anyway. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people got doubts about Ronaldo leading us next season.
yeah,
Like, if Man
yeah,
United have to rely on 37-year-old Ronaldo going on 38
yeah,
next year, something's wrong. Considering, like you
yeah,
said, we know Cavani's going to leave. We need a striker. Don't know what's going to happen with Martial, but let's just say if you're a betting man, he probably will leave. You know,
maybe, yeah.
maybe. God knows what's going to happen with the Mason Greenwood situation. And we hope that gets dealt with in the right way. So, we know we're going to need forwards, and we're not going to have to shouldn't be relying on Ronaldo
No,
anymore.
if we go into the beginning of next season and we're in the same situation that we are now, where basically our number 9 is Ronaldo and Ronaldo only, that's a problem just in general.
That would be that's
Even if
shocking.
Cristiano Ronaldo was prime Cristiano Ronaldo, but he was the only striking option, you would be like, that's still a problem because
Yeah.
injuries and suspensions are a thing. So of course we're looking for a striker. Of course there's doubts about him leading the line next season because of his age and because of the squad depth. I think they go hand in hand. So I think what I suppose maybe is somewhat encouraging is that Rangnick's looking ahead to next season now. He's like, right, I'm going to be consultant or whatever I am. Let's start making some decisions. Let's start laying some foundations. And I think that's somewhat encouraging because when he's been asked about it, and I'm sure when he gets asked in the press conference, is this true about Ronaldo, blah, 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 he will just say, wow, I'm focusing on this season. I'm not focusing on next, all that kind of stuff. But again, I kind of looked at it as sort of went, yeah, okay, that's probably about accurate, but we know we've got a big summer coming up. I mean, what was your initial reaction? Did you have that sort of gut reaction as like, ooh, or did you sort of look at it like that?
I was just like, I just kind of just deciphered it really. And I'm just like, there are obvious concerns about Ronaldo right now. Like I said yesterday, I can't lie, and I will be 100% honest with the viewers and myself. When I do watch him, sometimes it is sad. It is sad. Not because, oh my God, I can't believe it. Because like I said, time waits for no man. You're getting older. The way you play is different. The way you move is different. The way you recover is different. The way you affect the game is different. You're 37. What is he? 37, 36?
37,
37.
yeah.
You're 37 years of age, but you're that good of a player across your career. You've still scored. You're still our top scorer. That shows where the league's at. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, he's not the only issue right now.
No, and I think people misinterpret that, don't they?
Yeah, I think he's not. Man United's been broken for a very long time, And actually, what Ralph Rangnick's doing in terms of stabilizing us and actually giving us a style of play where it's like we are creating where it's actually flipped to we're losing and drawing games because we just never create what's going on. We've got all these attacking players, but now we're going. The chances are there. The chances are there.
Yeah.
We're dropping points like no man's land, but like no one's business. But the chances are there, and you think sooner or later there's got to be a game where it clicks in. It just so happens that now, unfortunately, the next 3 games are bloody City, Spurs, and bloody Liverpool. But so it's a key March. But you never know. So, but the Ronaldo thing, I wasn't outraged. I wasn't like, nah, no way, this is that. At the end of the day, there's always loads of things in the media, and that's what I'm saying. It's about deciphering for yourself as to how you feel about what's being said. Some of that is, like you say, Monday morning, get a story out there. Ronaldo going to grab the headlines. We'll all talk about it, which is what we're doing now. So it served its purpose already with that. Then there's the bit of got reservations about next season. I think every Man United fan does. I think every Man United fan who kind of is being honest with themselves with what's going on. I think if Ronaldo's our main striker next year, even if he's still here, it might be a bit of a surprise. But if he stays, fine. But he's going to have to accept, or you would like to think he's got to accept, a bit part role next year if he wants to stay. If he wants to stay, when's Ronaldo ever going to want to be a bit part player in any team? It's probably never. So, so that doesn't surprise me. And the fact that his patience is wearing a little bit thin, that's probably the one eye raiser where you're like, But then he immediately says, well, who does he play instead? He said it even in the press conferences. I got no one else.
He said it yesterday. He went, I brought on Sancho, I brought on Rashford. I basically had every attacking option I had on the pitch at the weekend. Exactly. He said, Cavani wasn't available to play. So that's it. If he had other options. Yeah.
Ed says it there. Even if Ronaldo was the problem, which he's not, we are hardly in a position to drop him. 100%. Martial on loan, Rashford out of form, Edinson unfit. We know what's happening with Mason Greenwood. and went from too many options to none. And that is exactly what it is. When Ronaldo actually arrived here with the quality we had, we were like, wow, it's Rashford, it's Greenwood, it's Martial, it's Jadon Sancho.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
why
know,
Martial went out on loan, because he looked ahead of him. He went, I've got so many players ahead of me.
I'm never going to play. And he was injured for ages. And then, like you said, yeah, he thought, forget this. I need to go and play some football. You know, and then and literally our Ed T there, we went from too many options to none, or a wealth of talent there to use to pick from, which is what you want at Man United. KG touched on it yesterday, you know, having 4 top strikers. That's the old Man United. That's what we should have in depth. But we've gone from having that strength in depth to now just having a 37 Ronaldo with nobody there to back him up. So it's true. So with that, I mean, before we move on, I think you got to just take the good with the bad with that one. I don't think there's a lot of outrage to be had there. I agree with you, Owen. It's not much in that. It's not much that we didn't know already or we wasn't feeling already. The bit about him wearing thin with the patience, fair enough, because he's seeing him get chances and not score. Even if it wasn't Ronaldo, he'd probably think that about a striker who's getting a lot of chances and not scoring.
And
but
you would argue that probably Rangnick's patient wearing thin might be with a couple of other players as well.
Exactly.
Going, tell you what,
Bruno.
you're missing chances. Yeah, it'd be like, tell you what, Bruno, I get that you're having assists, but you missed a one-on-one. You missed an open goal. I'm sure his patience wearing thin with a few people in that team. Got to tell you what, guys, like his patience wearing thin, I think, in general, because every time he comes out in the press conference after a game where we don't get a result, he goes, I told them, stick to the game plan. I told you, stay resolute. I told them, you know. His patience was wearing thin after the Atletico game because he went, I don't know what that first half was. We had a game plan, 7 minutes, it was in the dustbin. So I think that's Rangnick, and Rangnick's very transparent. I'm sure if you asked him, actually at the press conference, to be honest, and they went, you know, are you frustrated with the missing chances? He'd be like, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I am.
How can you not be?
Exactly. So like I said, I just kind of looked at it as, yeah, we have said so many times how big the summer is for Manchester United in terms of new manager, new coaches, players leaving, players coming in. And Ronaldo's involved in that mixture. We don't know specifically where, but he'll be involved in that. And as we spoke on earlier, come the beginning of next season, if Ronaldo is still our only striking option, that is a problem, not just necessarily because of his age or because of his form or whatever, just because we need more options. If you're going to compete, you need options, because it's a squad game. That's how it works. So, yeah, I mean, I think even Ronaldo's patience might be wearing thin with himself. He'd probably be looking at
his own thing might be like, sod this, I'm off.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about Arsenal. This is the overview show. This is where we look at, you know, the rest of the league and see what's going on. They got a big win against Wolves, right? Big win against Wolves. And if we look at the table as it stands, Arsenal are 6th, right? But they've played 3 games less than us. And they're only 2 points behind us on 45 points, and we're on 47. Our March is horrendous, tough, but you've got to show something. And Arsenal's next set of games is the next one is
Watford,
Watford at home,
Liverpool,
Leicester,
Villa
away. So they've got a couple of tough ones. You can still self-combust. They're building momentum. My question is, how big of a problem are they?
Do you know what it is with Arsenal? And I mentioned this last night, is that the race for that 4th spot has been about 3 sides that have been really inconsistent all year. And I think the reason why Arsenal now are the favourites, not just because necessarily the games in hand, but out of a really inconsistent bunch, they've been the most consistent recently, right? In the last, 5 games, I think 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. And the loss was against who? Was that City they lost to?
Yeah, and they had an amazing first half, and then it crumbled.
Yeah, so obviously they're playing arguably out of that race, you know, whether it's United, West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham. I think Wolves after the weekend are probably out of it now, I would think. But out of all of those 4 teams, Arsenal are playing the best stuff, and they look to be the most consistent of an inconsistent bunch. I still think, you know, and this isn't a dig at all at Arsenal fans or whatever, but it is still Arsenal, and their track record over the course of the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years or so is that when push comes to shove, when the pressure is on, they tend to crumble. Granted, that was with a different set of players. That Arsenal side is much younger now. Maybe they don't have the experience of failure to weigh them down, or the pressure of failure to weigh them down, which I think does weigh in their favour. Their destiny right now is in their own hands. It's not in the hands of Man United, West Ham, Tottenham. If Arsenal are as consistent as they have been, between now and the end of the season, they will get fourth. I think the pressure now is on them because they're in pole position. They're in the driving seat. As a United fan, it's not in our hands anymore. Yes, we have to control our own destiny by winning some games and not dropping points with draws and all that kind of stuff. But we also have to hope that other teams slip up, which is never the position you want to be in. So, of course, we have to be worried about Arsenal, and we have to rely on, helpings from strangers, if anything. So, but whether or not they'll do it, I don't know, because I think, just like I said, historically, you would say pressure. But I think on the flip side of it, as I mentioned before, that this is it's a really young squad, isn't it? Like one of the youngest squads in the league, or one of the youngest starting 11s in the league.
Yeah.
And again, they don't have that, pressure of we failed in the past mentality, crumble. A lot of them are fearless, and they got some really good players. Myself personally, I would always rather have points on the board than games in hand, because you've got to go into those games knowing, okay, right, if we win, we go above, if we win. So, and I suppose you have to give credit to Arteta as well, right? At different points this season, people have been calling on him to get sacked or get rid of him.
That can still happen. There's still time for that to happen.
Exactly. And as I've said before, a lot can happen between now and the end of the season. But Arsenal's certainly in pole position. And as a United fan, of course, we have to be worried about them, because if they're as consistent as they have been, they'll get fourth. And we've got more difficult games than they have. They've got a couple of difficult ones, but
in
we've
this
also got to see
period
them drop
now,
points.
They still have to play. I think they have to play Liverpool, Chelsea. They've got Spurs away as well. I think they're done with City home and away, aren't they? Yeah. And it is that. And as much as we all have we'll have to banter Arsenal and stuff like that. Right now, they're getting it done. Against Wolves, I watched that game, the one they just won the other day in the last game, and I just felt it. I'm just like,
that was a big moment.
They're just building
a really big moment.
A massive moment, because if they draw that game or lose that game, it just massively takes the wind out of themselves. But when you win and win in that fashion as well, it puts them right back into a situation of, just euphoria and belief. But having said that, they got a 0 again. They're still capable. They got a 0-0 against Burnley at home. They couldn't get it done. We saw what Watford did to us. Although, look, we had a lot of chances, but Watford have shown that they are capable of defending better under Roy Hodgson. You never know. But Arsenal, if they have the chance, because of how they're playing now and how confident they are, if they have the chances that they had against Watford, you might think that Arsenal would probably take those in that moment, whereas Watford rode it out against us and then built from there. But that can still happen. Watford could still go there and do that. They've drawn. Arsenal have drawn against, like I said, against I think Burnley were bottom of the league at that point. What could have been Norwich, but they've gone there and done it. So we'll see. It all happens when they play their hard games versus us when we play ours, because we've got our difficult march, and if we drop too many points, we could be so far off that
they've got
serious games.
They've got games left, which historically they would have dropped points in the past. Aston Villa away, Crystal Palace away. You know what I mean? Those kind of ones.
Easy.
Even like Brighton at home or something like that. West Ham away, Newcastle away. Those kind of points in the past, games in the past, Arsenal, you would say, oh, I tell you what, I could fancy Arsenal drawing those or dropping points.
Yeah.
The difference is that, like we said, recently they've actually been very consistent and have been playing quite well. It's the pressure time. This is the weird time of the season. I mean, we'll get onto it when we talk about other sides, but we're talking about sides in the bottom half or in the relegation zone that are just racking up wins. They weren't doing that at the beginning of the season. Newcastle have got some of the best form in the league at the moment. So you get to this kind of part of the season, and teams that weren't playing well or weren't picking up points before suddenly start doing it. And that's why I say a lot can change between now and the end of the season. Is that me trying to put that out into the atmosphere, out into the universe, and be a bit optimistic? Maybe. But it's certainly in Arsenal's hands at the moment.
Well, yeah, I didn't realise Newcastle are actually 14th now. That's crazy.
Oh, I'm telling you, last 5 games in the Premier League, 4 wins, 1 draw.
Yeah. It's come together.
Better form than us. That's better form than us.
Yeah, exactly. Them draws, man. Them 3 draws in the last 5 games just really, really hurt us.
Yeah.
And it's like, at some point we've got to put a stop to it, or we are just going to keep, being in free fall, to be honest with you. Another game I want to talk about is this one, Leeds versus Tottenham. And not so much the game, but what happens as a result of the game, i.e. Bielsa sacked. Tottenham hit them for 4. Doesn't mean Tottenham are back. Doesn't mean Tottenham are out of the mud, because everybody hits Leeds for 4 at the moment. 6 at Liverpool, conceded 4 against us, another 4 against Spurs. When they played Arsenal at Ellen Road, I think Arsenal scored 4th and they won 4-1, didn't they? Like, they're a mess. They're a joke. Leeds, absolute joke. Let's talk about Leeds first in terms of Bielsa getting sacked. For me, long time coming. Don't know why it didn't happen ages ago. Some people tried to say to me at Flex, he got League One players. Look how well he's done. And yeah, he has. He's done amazing. Done brilliantly. But he was tactically naive. Never changed a damn thing. Getting battered every week. Listen, we don't want Leeds to do well. I hope he's wanted him to stay. Keep losing every week. 4-0, 5-0, great. Get relegated again, for all I care. We don't like Leeds. But, at the end of the day, the guy's... I've never seen a manager so gassed up before, honestly, in my life. Like, even if I look at his record and stuff, he's never won nothing big, like huge. He's always like on the move. Yes, plays exciting football, front foot, and improved them players. You're talking back in the League One and Championship. I understand that. The journey took them on, not taking that away from him. That's incredible. But when it got to the level of needing to show a bit of adaptation and changing it up a little bit and a little bit of flexibility, absolutely nothing. And was happy to let his team, yes, granted they had a lot of injuries, but was happy to just throw his team out there every single week to get absolutely battered. And if you've got injuries, fine, but still go 4-5-1 then. Try and consolidate. Try and do something. But no, man for man, all over the pitch against players that are in. Because when you go man for man, it's like a basketball thing. It's almost like saying, I fancy this. I think I'm better than you in one-on-one duels all over the pitch.
Would you say that's a modern day coaching thing? Because that was, for me, like Liverpool last season, they did the exact same thing. They've got their style, their system. They had all those players missing, but Klopp went, I'm still going to play that system. Yeah. And they started losing games because of it, because they didn't have the players good enough to play that system. It's kind of like Leeds this season. Yeah, they got injuries, Calvin Phillips, Bamford, etc. But they still say, stick to the principles, play the system. When if you don't have the players to do it, you just get, like you said, you get picked up, you get battered. I mean, they've conceded the most goals in the league this season. They've conceded.
When you've got players of that ilk, I think you have to change it. Like with City, even though it wasn't the play, like, because Pep's way is exceptional, right? And it's used to winning titles and stuff. And the players that they did have it with were still like better than Leeds' players, man for man. So I think when you've got players that you're telling us are League One players at best or Championship players at best, then they need help then. Like, you can't just... Like, at least all Pep's players were like seasoned, all Premier League players. You had players like Sanya in there. Clichy been playing for ages. Didn't he get rid of Demichelis, I want to say? Players like that. Just players that just weren't up to the level. I might be wrong.
Look at some of these results this season.
Shocking.
7-0 against Man City. 3-0 against Everton. 4-2 against United.
6 against us.
6-0 against Liverpool. 4-0 against Tottenham. Like I said, they conceded the most goals, and they always look like they're going to concede goals every game they play. It's a divisive one, certainly, isn't it? Because, again, I think a lot of Leeds fans say that, but he took a side that was never going to get promoted and did get promoted. He has improved
and that's
players.
Great. You can't take that away from him. 100%.
No, you can't. You can't take that away from him. And it is a tough one. And some people might say, well, he's earned the right to... if he goes down with him, he's earned that right kind of situation, which is, I mean, it's maybe true, but maybe the board from Leeds rather are looking at it like, I tell you what, though, if we go down, we're probably not going to come back up because we know what the squad's like, actually. So we've got to do everything we can to stay in the lead because otherwise we might not come back up. And I mean, Jesse Marsch has been linked to it. I think that's an interesting one. I'm not going to profess myself to be a complete expert on him. I think if you see that he was at Leipzig, he probably plays somewhat of a similar high-pressing style. It doesn't make any sense. I think it was Richard Keys and Andy Gray. Give it Sam Allardyce. Get Sam Allardyce in to the end of the season, because that worked for West Brom last year, didn't it?
Yeah.
That
exactly.
thing. It makes sense to bring someone in that plays somewhat similar to Bielsa, but can have just maybe a little bit more of a defensive, nuanced approach to it.
It's a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But they're in massive trouble, honestly, because they are in complete free-for-all.
I predicted one of them big teams, I think, I say big, but, in terms of the club size, one of them is going to go down. I think I think there'll be a shock out of Leeds.
And you've got like people like Burnley, by the way, who were getting no points at the beginning of the season. Now, like I said, they've got 2 wins, 2 draws in the last 5 games. They're
Bloody
picking up
hell! And
points.
they've played the same. Do you know what? Everton are in
That's the
massive
surprising
trouble.
one. Yeah. I mean, they've
Let's
got
talk.
like a
Do
lot
you
of
know
games
what?
in
Let's talk
hand.
about Everton. They've got a
Yeah.
lot of game in hand with the people above them, but so have Burnley.
Yeah, yeah. So then that's why you look at Leeds and like Brentford and you go, because look at Brentford's form.
Yeah,
4 defeats, 1 draw in their
yeah,
last couple of games. And like I said, those ones that were, dead and buried are now starting to pick up points. Like
yeah.
Newcastle, they're not even in it anymore.
Nah,
They're
they'll
gone.
just keep going. Brentford will get sucked into this. Definitely. Well, they already are. They're going to
Mm,
keep free falling. So I think they just cannot buy a win. I think the last
mm.
time they won was probably that Villa at home. Then if you're looking at Watford, they're played 26 and got 19 points, but Leeds have only got 23 points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's 4. And
So
then, like I said, and you look at Burnley, who've got 2 games in hand over Leeds, and you can't even
yeah,
go, yeah, but it's Burnley not going to win those games. Look at their
yeah,
form.
because
They've been
they're
picking up
picking up,
points.
yeah, they're picking up points, man. Picking up points. It's very, very Lampard needs to start getting some wins quick. Just to get away from that. Otherwise, they're going to be right in
I
it.
mean,
You
Everton
know,
being anywhere near that is catastrophic, isn't it? Let's be
I think
honest.
Leeds
That
and
is.
Brentford are going to go down, and I think Leeds and Brentford replace Burnley and Watford. I'm going to say.
You reckon Watford are going to get out of it?
I just think there's a bit
I
of
think
a
that's a big call flex. I think that.
that's a big call. That's a big call, but I'm just gonna go with it. I like when the underdogs rise, but I feel like Leeds and Brentford are so poor that I think they're just going to keep losing. Because look, I always feel like Watford have that in them, like what they've done. Look what they've done to us. Just rode it out. Yes, they rode their luck. We should have scored,
Mm,
but once we didn't, and then the second half they just defended properly.
yeah.
Like Roy Hodgson, I think can nick out a couple of draws like that. And then
Mm.
if against teams who aren't as good as us, even though we're not that great, but against other teams, if they can get Sarr and Dennis and players like that involved in
I
transition,
just
then
think.
they can hurt teams.
I just think with Watford that. Yeah, obviously they rode it out against us. We had so many chances. Any other day that would be 4-0
Yeah, it should be
against a team that
3-4-0.
defended their
Yeah,
chances. And the game before they played Palace, and Palace put 4 past them. I just think
yeah,
you can't keep conceded that many chances. I think Burnley are going to stay up because I think that's
yeah.
what Sean Dyche does. You
But
know,
Leeds and Brentford are so bad though. They'll give
I
what I
know.
think that's who Watford should be looking at, saying they're going to keep on their spiral. If we can just
Yeah.
get a point here, nick a win there, maybe another point. They're gonna get closer just because I think they're just in free fall. Less new manager though, you never know with Leeds, but
I'll
they're
tell you what, they've
that
got
bad.
some
And
big games
Brentford,
coming up. I'm just looking at Watford's fixtures. They've got Everton at home,
they've got a really
massive.
tough run. Yeah,
They've got Watford. They've got Leeds at home. They've got Brentford at home.
look at
Their
that.
games, and they
And what's
got
that?
Burnley,
3 games at home
and
against them.
they got Burnley at home. So all the people around
What
them,
in a
they've still
row?
got to play. No, well, it's close. It's like around sort of March and April. Yeah.
See, so after they get Arsenal out the way, which is a
Once
tough
they get,
game,
they've
and
got
which
Arsenal, Wolves, and then Southampton, which those ones you go, that's tough. But then you've
yeah,
got literally Everton, got to play
yeah,
Liverpool. But you've got Leeds, you've got Brentford, you've got Burnley.
yeah.
They're
That's
games
what I'm
that Roy
saying.
Hodgson would be looking at going, I can tell you what, that could be, I mean, maybe 12 points is a bit of a big ask, but you'd be
Mm,
looking at going, we can pick up stuff. We can absolutely pick up stuff
yeah.
between now and the end of the season.
Exactly, exactly. So we shall see. Let's move on to Tottenham because
Yes.
obviously they did win 4-0. It's very hard to gauge because Leeds are so bad. Like I say,
Yeah.
everyone hits them for 4s and 5s and 6s. They are literally the battering team of the league. But the game before they lost against Burnley, and it's all Conte pretty much was going to walk. They get a win. Harry Kane's amazing again. And then they go from there. The question is, like it's in the title, can Harry Kane reignite Spurs? Can Spurs reignite themselves? Can Spurs go on a little bit of run? Or, just the fact that they beat Leeds, they're destined to go back to what they what they have been. And their next
Yeah.
game is against Everton at home as well.
Yeah, I
Then
don't know if you can
us.
look too much into the Leeds result, to be honest with you, because like
Mm,
you said, that's what everyone's doing at the moment. Harry Kane against Leeds was excellent. Harry Kane against Man City was excellent. And I think they might look at that and say, finally, Harry Kane's starting to show something. It's taken him a while this season
mm,
after the summer. But there is no middle ground when it comes to Spurs at the moment, is there? They don't draw games. They literally they'll either win like that or they'll lose. And they'll lose to
mm,
someone like Burnley. So I mentioned about that race for fourth. It's going to be whoever is the most consistent out of an inconsistent bunch. At the moment, it's Arsenal. I just don't know if Spurs fans would really back themselves to be consistent between now and the end of the season. You look at their run of fixtures between now and the end of the season, you've got to tell you what, they got a decent run of games. Absolutely.
They've got 2 games in hand over us, and they're on 42
Yeah.
points. We're on 47.
Exactly. And, they've got to play us away, which they'll be like, that's a tough one. But otherwise, they're looking at, they've got to play West Ham at home, play people around them, but they've got to play the likes of, I think some of them are away games, but they've got to play, Villa, Brentford, Brighton, Leicester, Norwich, Burnley. So they would be looking at those being like, I tell you what, we can't win those games. But the problem is they're not. They're not winning those games. That's the issue, is that in all of those games, despite whatever their opponent is, you wouldn't put your house on them beating them. Especially even in the games what they are expected to win. But like from our perspective, when we play Spurs in a couple of weeks' time, massive, like huge game. And from our perspective as well, I have no idea what Spurs are going to show up that day. None at all.
And you have no idea what Man United is going to show up.
No, not at all. So it is a strange one. I think the Spurs might be disappointed because they had so many games in hand before, didn't they? And it was kind of the thing of like, yeah, but I know they've got games in hand, but they should be winning them, and then they'll get into that 4th spot. And a couple of them, they've massively blown it. And even now, if they were to win those games in hand against over us, they'd go just above us by a point, wouldn't they? Which again is just us dropping points. But it's again, I would rather have points on the board than games in hand, and I think they would, because they don't know what they're going to get.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I just think that when you've got Conte there, it can always change. It can always, it can always change, can't it? It can always, Kane can just be amazing in one game. Son, they can, basically what I'm saying is Tottenham, as much as we laugh at them and they've got average players across the park in some areas, they're capable of coming to Old Trafford and causing some serious damage on counter.
Oh,
100%,
100%.
Yeah. Or getting a draw and just further derailing our season. And we've got to win them type of games there when they're coming here. When Chelsea come, got to win the games. We've got to win. Got to win, man. So we shall see about that one. Carabao Cup. Cup. Liverpool obviously trying to chase that title. 6 points off City with a game in hand. Still got to go to the Etihad. We could potentially nick something off of Man City. Imagine that. We nick a win or a draw off City. They drop 2 points or 3. Put City right back at Liverpool, right back in there. It can all happen. Chelsea, people trying to get them sucked into a top 4 race, but they've always managed to just keep their heads above that and not get sucked into a top 4 race. They look, unless there's a catastrophe and they start losing a batch of games, they look like they're going to get 3rd. But what entertaining final that was, even though it's a League Cup. Very good game.
Great. I mean, you will struggle to find, I mentioned it on Twitter, you'll struggle to find a better 0-0 final than that. I mean, it was almost comical at points of how many goals were offside.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. How many goals were ruled offside. And all of them I thought was spot on. I know there was the one of the Lukaku one and the shirt sleeve and all that kind of thing. But in my opinion, just hold his run. He was in so much space. And I know people are going, oh, yeah, but he didn't know he was going to be a shirt sleeve offside. Give yourself a yard. You could have given yourself a yard easily in that situation. But yeah, unbelievable final. A lot of people were talking a lot about the goalkeeping situation, right? Bringing on goalkeepers for penalty shootouts and
what do you think about that as a keeper?
I don't have a problem with it at all. Some goalkeepers, it's a skill, are better at saving penalties than others. When you're talking about winning things, it's marginal gains. If one keeper is better at saving penalties, which is a thing, bring him on. Why would you not?
But Kepa's proved it as well. He's actually won them. What did he win them? Was it the Carabao Cup last time? What did he win them?
He won the Super Cup earlier this season. The Super Cup against Villarreal, came on and did that against them.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, he's done it. He's renowned for it.
He saved penalty against Plymouth in the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago. He's known for saving penalties. Some goalkeepers just are better at saving penalties. Now, I know some people will say, yeah, but he didn't save any, and Mendy might have said any, but saved some. That is so easy to say after it's happened because you don't know. The stats are there. And also from a perspective too, if you know if you're Kepa and you're on the bench and I might be coming on for a penalty shootout, when it's the second 15 minutes of extra time, you saw him. Where was he? In the change room. He's looking up for 15 minutes. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? What's these penalties? All that kind of stuff. It would make sense from a sort of tactical perspective of having, okay, this is the penalty keeper, and his whole job in this game is for the 30 minutes of extra time is to be looking up people's penalty records, looking up this, looking up that. and he's just better at saving penalties. So I did not have an issue with that. And obviously his penalty was terrible, but he didn't think he was going to take one.
Exactly.
So,
And it's when it gets to keepers taking penalties, it's fucking Jesus Christ. It's potluck. It's potluck at any time, really.
and they were great penalties, all of them.
A lot of them,
superb.
a lot of really, really good pens. And
Mm.
you know, the Liverpool keeper didn't have to make a save to win the final. Like, it's just how it went. Do you know what I mean? Didn't have to make a save. You know, he's done well scoring his own penalty.
Although I do think in the game he made some good saves as well. I think he's a good backup keeper, Kelleher.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he did make some really good saves. And you know, you look at us not scoring, not taking our chances. Mason Mount, man, he had such good chances to score, especially that one where he hits the post. Pulisic, same thing. You know, so you're thinking.
But also Chelsea, shout out to Mendy, because one of the saves he made in the first half was unbelievable.
That double save he made was unbelievable. I don't know how Marley didn't score. He didn't score because Mendy straight up, right arm across, whatever it was, left arm, can't remember, but it was fantastic save, and it just had everything in it. But it was what hurt was, again, I say it when we've seen Liverpool City games, if it's Chelsea Liverpool or Chelsea City or whatever, you just look at it and go, that's the big boys playing, in it.
Like, that's what I was going to say. You just watch it and you just go, you watch it and you just go, we're so far off it. Like, we don't have games. That was two top elite sides facing off against each other.
Tactically set up perfectly, both of them. You know, it was actually quite fitting that actually it took a whole extra time, a whole round of penalties with every player to score and it to go to the keepers. Like, that's how tactically, because actually, and it annoys me, because that's what I mean. When I look at Liverpool's back line, they're not as good as people think. You can get at them so easy. They play so high up. There's loads of runs in behind them. And if you play in the right way and get, you know, players running in behind like Chelsea didn't pounce at the right times, it's all good saying it. I get it. You've got to have the set up to do it. But they showed exactly how you play against Liverpool. Exactly how you play.
I mean, maybe you could say against Liverpool is that with all of those goals is because both defenses held their lines very well. It's all playing that high line, but they held them well. I think you're right. Liverpool, you will, if you're a decent side, you will get a chance or two against Liverpool.
Chances easy. Because that's how they play. Chances against them, didn't score. Like everyone who plays Liverpool, when was it Palace earlier on in the season? I think where Liverpool nicked it. Palace were all over, bare chances, just couldn't score. You know, they ride their luck a lot, Liverpool.
The issue is that Liverpool score goals. They score the most goals in the league. They score the most goals in the league. And what is frightening, I think, about Liverpool now from a United perspective is previously it was the front three, Salah, Mane, Firmino, and you went, that's it. Now there's Jota. Now there's Diaz. They've actually got options, which they did not have before. That's the issue. Is that when they're making subs in that game, they took Mane off and went, oh, we're taking off Mane. But they're bringing on players. You're like, Jota, bring them on. You know what I mean? And that's the concern now, is that they've got options where previously they might not have had them. And going back to the title race, I think we might be looking at something a bit similar to, you know, when City won it by like a point a couple of years ago, or that kind of stuff. I reckon it'll be close. I reckon it'll be very similar to that this year, because if you look at everything, there's not a lot of difference between them. Whether it's Liverpool scored more goals, just City conceded some less goals as well. So it's going to be really, really close, I think. And, you know, that's concerning. Nowhere
it is. I just said on another show, I was like, because I got asked, you know, on the Don Robbie channel, who would I, as a United fan, I know it hurts, but who would you prefer to win? I said, listen, can't choose who I prefer to win, but I just want one of them to experience severe pain. They get really close to it and lose out. At least one of them get severe pain by getting close to it. But I think that's the best we can wish for, because we're in a shit situation. On Man City, you know, they snuck a 1-0 against Everton. Phil Foden late on. But the refereeing and the penalty that should have been given against Rodrigo. I mean, unbelievable.
So Everton have made a complaint in the last hour, basically. They've submitted a complaint to the Premier League. They've said that Everton have made an official complaint to the Premier League about recent decisions made by officials. The club are, quote, incandescent, what a word that is, at some refereeing decisions made in recent games, and they want, at the very least, an apology for Frank Lampard and his team. Now, I mentioned this on
Never going to get it,
media.
though, by the way.
Never, not a chance. I mentioned it on social media during the game, and I've said it so many times this year on this channel, and it's not a Manchester United thing. It's not a Man City thing. It's not a Liverpool thing. It's not, oh, United fans want United decisions. No, it is a Premier League thing. And we've got decisions this season where I've gone, I have no idea how we got that, because it's a terrible decision. the standard of officiating in the Premier League, both on the pitch and with VAR, which makes it even worse, is shocking. There is no consistency in any of these decisions. The issue is that you have the penalty not given for the Everton-Man City game at the weekend, but Man City got one against, was it Wolves? Which is exactly the same. Exactly the same. And again, that's not on Man City. That's not Man City's fault. And I really don't think that referees are more lenient to other sides than others or lenient to other managers. I just think there is no consistency. I think it's terrible that you can have VAR as a second look at things and they still get it wrong. That's a massive issue too. And also you have to go to the laws of football because these laws are in place which take any context out of the game. So they look at things and go by the letter of the law, and you go, yeah, but that doesn't, as to the situation right now, that doesn't add up. You're taking any form of context out of it. And that's the problem. I've said it so many times. We're the league, best league in the world, we like to say, right? And we have the best players and the best managers from all around the world. Why can't we go get the best referees? If the best referee is a foreign referee, bring him in.
Exactly.
Get him or her, get any of them into the league and say, okay, we're going to have the best in class in every single thing. And also, let's just look at some context. VAR, how many times we had the VAR conversation where, first of all, they never used to go to the television at the side of the pitch. Now, when they do, you know what's going to happen anyway. Take a second look, which basically means overturn it. It's
embarrassing
every week. And again, it's no consistency.
And there's no accountability. Like you get, Ashley Cole was going up to the ref and he's just looking at him. You know that little gormless look the refs give to just say, I'm not talking to you, mate. I'm not talking to you. I'm so protected. I don't have to account to you. I don't need to explain to you the stupid, the stupid mistake that I've just made, etc., etc. I don't need to. I can't stand it.
We don't even hear the conversation when they're going to the clips. If you're watching like cricket or rugby or even like American football, when they're doing the VAR stuff, you hear everything as a viewer. You hear everything. Maybe you don't need to hear that in the stadium, but certainly at home, you would hear, okay, what's this? Now move it back. Are you seeing this? Sometimes they're doing the lines. We don't see the lines on TV and we get told by the commentator they're doing the lines at Stockley Park right now. Well, why shouldn't we see that? Why shouldn't everyone be able to see that? And again, it's this lack of accountability. It's taking decisions out of their hands and going, well, VAR, all that kind of stuff. It's just, and when the referee's going to come out after the game, justify their decisions. With this one,
it's so blatant. I'm watching it back now as well. Like, it's so clumsy. His arms are out, Rodri, and it's on his bicep. Like, what?
Yeah, well, this was the thing as well with it. So Pep comes out after the game. He asked him about it when it was offside. It was because it was offside. But the referee said to Frank Lampard, no, it wasn't because it wasn't offside. It was because it wasn't a handball. So, and we're hearing that through other people. We're hearing that through the media have to tell us because the referees won't tell us. It's just, that is just, and it's so frustrating. Not as a United fan, just as a football fan. I wouldn't mind it. Right? If you just say, when it hits you there, that's not a penalty. And then every time throughout the season, that's never given as a penalty. I would not mind it. I would not mind it. I go, well, that's the rule. But it's not the rule. The rule changes every 5 seconds. It's just, it's so frustrating.
I would say as well, honestly, big club bias, bro, as well. That's big Man City. If that happened the other way round, and that was Michael Keane, who that ball bounced up on his arm, City would have a pen. City would have a pen. And it's the same, like, I think with other big, like ourselves as well. Like you said earlier, there's decisions that maybe we've got where you're like, bloody hell, how have we got that? I do think when it's little old Norwich or it's little old, I don't know, Watford or it's little old Burnley or whatever, those type of teams, they never usually get the rub of the green. They get absolutely robbed, And now we're seeing it. It does happen, obviously, higher up the table. There are a lot of bad decisions across the league. And a standard, but I do always find that the bigger team in the situation usually gets a little bit of rub of the green. Yes, when two big teams play against each other, the standard's still not great, but I definitely see the daylight robbery with some.
Well, I saw it in the Carabao Cup game yesterday. I'll give them credit where it's due. I thought that was officiated really well. I thought, and again, VAR decisions. Every VAR decision was like spot on, bang on. The goal with Matip when he headed it into the net, spot on, quick.
Yeah,
Lukaku when he was offside. Lukaku when he was offside, that was done in a few seconds. That was boom, line done, offside, move on. And you see that and you go, why can't that be done?
I still haven't changed that. I don't want to see offsides given for them ones though. The Lukaku one, like where
I don't. With the arm,
I just want it to go
with
back
the arm.
Come on, like
I would look at that and say, well, he's because you say, well, can he? If he scored using his arm like that, you go, well, that's handball. He wouldn't give that. So I think that's fair. but I still think he should hold his run in that situation. He had so much space. Yeah. But again, it's the consistency problem, isn't it? Is there will be an offside this season that will be guys onside.
Yeah,
exactly.
Know? Just to run through before we finish off, a couple of other results for you from that round of fixtures, should I say? Brighton, another loss for them. They're kind of in a little bit of a weird situation, going down 2-0 against Aston Villa. Southampton beat Norwich 2-0. West Ham got a narrow win against Wolves. Like you said earlier, Owen, that loss there on the back of losing to Arsenal probably puts Wolves just too far out of it. Brentford lost again. We touched on them getting sucked into it, and we touched on Newcastle already, just kind of not even being in that relegation fight anymore. Bought well, got loads of money in. You know, they bought well in the summer, in the January transfer window, and they've gone and done their thing, really.
Well, and also it's worrying for next season. As a United fan, you think, right, that's what they did in January.
Yeah,
I know it's not as simple as this. I know it's not as simple as this, but next season they're a big side. They are they are a threat next season because they will buy big players now that were on the fence about going there because, well, they're going to stay in the league. That isn't even a dilemma now. So they're going to go hell for leather in the summer. And as you know, a United fan, knowing that there's 6 clubs trying to get in the top 4 anyway, 7 or even more than that now with West Ham as well, 8, including West Ham and Wolves trying to get into the top 4, add a 9th. Because they'll be looking at it, Newcastle. I will guarantee they will get like a big player in the summer that people go, oh, wow. Okay, that is
a proper like statement signing. Isn't it?
100%. Yeah. So I'm worried about them next year.
Yeah. Let's just get through this year first.
I know.
Oh, honestly. Listen, great show. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about your predictions for top 4, predictions for who will get relegated, who will beat the drop, and who will win the league as well. How important is it that, you know, Liverpool...
You say that with such resignation, Flex.
It's awful. It's important, you know, but doing this show, we have to be not unbiased because we're always going to be biased, but it's talking about everything. It's the overview of everything, isn't it? So, I don't like it, but it's got to be done. Let us know who you think will win the league as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video as well. Subscribers are firing up. That 100K is around the corner, man. It's
nearly in reach.
Up. It's nearly in reach. Exactly. So nearly there. So big up to you guys. Keep safe, and we'll see you lot all again very, very soon. We're out of it. Peace.